The fact these two are technically the same character is utter brilliance. So I've been in a bit of a Godzilla mood lately. Can't exactly say in particular what sparked the interest. I'm sure part of it is hype for the next movie alongside Kong, but my brain also just randomly chooses what I hyperfixate on every few months. I'll probably be on Beyblades or something by May, I don't know. But anyways, I've been taking in a lot of Godzilla media over the past few weeks, watching reviews and best hits of the movies, looking up the history of the characters on the wikis, and continuously pining over the party brawlers of the early 2000s. Someone please make a proper successor to these, they are long overdue. But as I was going through all the different incarnations of the King of the Monsters, I realized something. Damn, Godzilla's played about 1,000 different roles, hasn't he? He's been a hero, he's been a villain, he's been scary, he's been friendly, he's been tragic, he's been an absolute goofball. This big lizard's worn so many masks throughout his 70-year career, he should consider talking to this dude. And as I began to reflect on all that, it kinda got me thinking, is that the reason why so many people are drawn to Godzilla? Really think about it. Godzilla is arguably one of the most prominent and recognizable characters in all of pop culture, not just in its home of Japan, but across the Western world as well. Heck, outside of Hello Kitty, the yellow Sparky Rat, and the funny Wahoo Man, Godzilla might just be the most iconic and recognizable figure to come out of Japanese entertainment as a whole, even more so than almost any anime character like Goku or Luffy. Although now that I've said that, the One Piece Twitter munchers are probably going to start saying Gear 5 is more iconic than Godzilla. Please, I implore you, it is not hard. And all that popularity has persisted across several decades. Remember, Godzilla was made in 1954. He is 8 years older than Spider-Man. And while the big guy has most certainly had points where his cultural relevance ebbed and flowed, chiefly the decade-long absences the character went through after Terror of Mechagodzilla and Godzilla Final Wars, respectively, he's never managed to completely fall out of the public consciousness, and always seems to find a place in people's hearts and minds. It takes a special type of icon to maintain that presence, so one will eventually ask, how does that happen? Now, yes, a lot of it is the never-ending desire of man to see Big Thing go kaboom, and the unapologetic fun of seeing unique, well-designed monsters tear shit up, a camp that I am unashamedly a big part of. Look, I know there are legit well-written human moments in these films, but goddammit, big scary lizard shoot laser make brain go brrrr. However, if we look beyond the surface-level destruction hype, I think a lot of what makes Godzilla such an endlessly endearing character is just how malleable he is, and how he can be placed into such a wide variety of different archetypes, roles, and portrayals, with almost none of them feeling truly out of character. One need look no further than by comparing his public perception with his own origins. Really take a moment to think about where Godzilla came from, not just in the movies, but the real-life inspiration. The idea from him originates from the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end of World War II, along with multiple other instances of nuclear fallout affecting Japan. The King of the Monsters didn't spawn from some random fictional disaster or act of Godzilla, but a genuine, heartbreaking, real-world tragedy, easily the greatest in the history of Japan as a nation. It would be the equivalent of an ultra-popular American superhero spawning as a result of 9/11 and the War on Terror. This is kinda fucked up when you really think about it. And this was all reflected in the very first film. Godzilla is a genuine threat. There's no other monsters for him to fight, no special humans for him to bond with, just a bona fide terror that needs to be stopped to save humanity. However, even then, the end of the first movie actually plays into an element of tragedy itself, implying that Godzilla was also in a way a victim, as he was forced to the surface by the disturbance of the atomic bombs and thus had to be put down, all because of human action. We both awoke and killed Godzilla, forcing this creature into a situation he never chose to be in. An understandably somber take given where the monster himself spawned from, but things would take an interesting turn over the next several movies. Godzilla would shift from a terror to humans to instead being pitted against other monsters who pose just as great a threat to mankind, if not more. As a result, Godzilla altered his role, going from a threat so explicit the first movie is outright listed as a horror film, to a force who now often fights alongside humanity for the sake of themselves and the planet. He's not an outright hero like his fellow kaiju counterpart Gamera, but Godzilla has now taken to a much more protector of the planet role in many cases. Who, while he'll still bulldoze a city block, I mean, why he give a fuck about the collateral damage? He ain't paying for it. He has more often than not protected humans from much more explicitly evil threats, whether directly or indirectly, or at worst, often fights for more of his own survival, with less explicitly evil intentions towards humanity. Think about that. A creature born from the greatest tragedy in the history of his nation of origin evolved into a beloved figure and semi-hero. That's an incredible change for such an icon to make. And even then, that status has shifted several times back and forward. Because Godzilla has done several reboots and restarts, Toho has been free to shake up the character however they see fit, whether it be to try out a new role for him or to play into real-world cultural topics at the time. For example, you've got Godzilla vs. Hedorah, where Big G fights the literal embodiment of pollution in a cautionary tale for the real world to protect the planet, while conversely you have Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, giant monsters all out of tech. Oh, give me a minute. Shorthand, where Godzilla is at what might be his most villainous ever, where he is the literal embodiment of all the tortured souls who died in the Pacific War.
That sounds absolutely metal as fuck.
Or another example, you have Shin Godzilla, a terrifying but also genuinely tragic story of a being forced to evolve at such a rapid pace and is in constant agonizing pain with no idea what's happening to itself or why, punctuated by the movie's most famous song, which mirrors Godzilla's sorrowful begging to die so it can rest, clashing with his instinctive desire to stay alive. While on the other hand, you have Godzilla vs. Megalon, which has Godzilla teaming up with a robot Power Rangers looking dude, which involves him also doing fucking this! This is true cinema and is greater than anything Martin Scorsese has ever created. All of this unique characterization has given Godzilla this mystique about him that allows him to play so many different roles, and keep in mind, these are drastically different archetypes being displayed by a character who doesn't even talk. Godzilla doesn't have an established voice. I mean, outside of... There's running going on. Yep, but we don't talk about that. Conveying character without dialogue is definitely a challenge, but it not only allows the audience to give their own voice to the entity in question, but characteristics portrayed through facial expressions and actions can still give just as much context and understanding to how that silent character thinks and feels, which over the years has worked wonders for Godzilla. One of my favorite moments ever in any of the films comes from Godzilla vs. Gigan. The main climax of the movie is essentially a tag team match, with Godzilla and Anguirus facing off against the big bads, Gigan and King Ghidorah. So for like the probably two of you who don't know, but whatever. King Ghidorah is pretty much the ultimate villain of the entire Godzilla series. Goji has a number of top-level opponents like Mechagodzilla and Destroya, but King Ghidorah has by far the biggest rivalry with the main Lizard. He's basically to Godzilla what Joker is to Batman. So when these four come face to face, the two kings have already duked it out multiple times already. And when they all square off, Godzilla right out of the gate just charges at Ghidorah and full-on football tackles him. Gigan is this all-new threat who Godzilla's never seen before, and he pays zero mind to him just to make a beeline for Ghidorah. Like, goddamn, these two do not like each other. But that's such a great part of Godzilla. Just by their history and simple actions, you can understand how these monsters feel and think without any spoken word. Which ties back into why I think such a big part of Godzilla's appeal is how he can be anything. He doesn't need to speak. He doesn't need explicitly stated motivation. You can use his actions to not only express his role, but leave it vague enough where the audience can give their own unique voice on how and what Godzilla is supposed to be thinking and feeling. Whether it be brazen destruction, fighting for survival, battling heroically, or going on a vicious rampage. Although, while that is most certainly certainly appealing for many, it seems as though it doesn't land with everyone. I've seen on a fair occasion some people criticize Godzilla as a result of his diverse portrayals, saying things like the inconsistency between iterations causes major tonal clash and absurdity, or that trying to portray more serious topics or greater character meaning out of a giant radioactive monster is counterintuitive because how can anybody take that seriously? Now, to be honest, these are topics I could go much deeper into. The idea of non-human characters being used to tell serious stories, or having the same character have vastly different tonal portrayals could be videos all in of themselves, and how I think the judgment of those topics are incredibly surface level and short-sighted. But I feel they're worth mentioning here because Godzilla feels like the perfect example of a character who pulls those concepts off incredibly well. While I can understand the idea that having such clashing tones for all these different versions of Godzilla can be odd from an outsider's perspective, it also allows Godzilla to be a very versatile character who isn't confined in a box. The quality of these versions vary, no doubt, but they still are all just as valid interpretations of the King of the Monster as one another. Godzilla can be a crazy, over-the-top monster fighting movie just as much as it can be a harrowing, meaningful drama of the human condition. And some people seem to think that second part is weird, that a movie about a kaiju trying to tell a serious story is ridiculous because Godzilla is a giant monster, which again, to be honest, is just fucking dumb. I always see a small group of people try to put down a piece of media that tries to tell impactful or more serious stories with non-human or cartoonish characters because it's somehow counterintuitive. Like we're stupid gaga babies who can't look past surface level concepts. You can tell stories that take themselves more seriously with characters who aren't regular humans or have fantastical elements and still have them strike a chord with people. Take for example, Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes, I did just find a way to shoehorn Sonic into a video about Godzilla. Those who know me should not be surprised. Sonic is a lot like Godzilla in how they've both told serious and sometimes meaningful stories focused heavily around characters who aren't human. Well, Godzilla has done several about humans, but he still does play a major part, as well as having many of them focused around himself. And Sonic will often get poked fun at for it, because why would you try and tell a serious story with an anthropomorphic hedgehog? Because if you're not some completely unlikable fuck-ass, you can see the more meaningful story elements and appreciate the work for what it's saying rather than just what it looks like. Sonic has had impactful moments and serious story elements that have remained with fans for years. I mean, for God's sake, this fandom is losing its mind at the thought of seeing a 10-year-old being fucking capped on the big screen. But things like the meaningful message of Black Knight or the heart-to-heart between Sonic and Knuckles in Frontiers, these are legit great moments of character, and the people who look beyond the surface level appreciate them as such. The same applies to Godzilla. Look at Godzilla vs. Destroya. At the end of that film, Godzilla ends up dying due to his nuclear power overheating and burning out. And as he ends up melting away, it's a legit sad scene. Witnessing such an awe-inspiring creature let out a heart-wrenching cry as he fades away. And this was the Heisei era, where Godzilla wasn't as much of an explicit hero throughout this run. But it still lands for people because Godzilla is the type of character who can pull that off. He can make you jump for joy, laugh your ass off, run in terror, or shed genuine tears of sadness. That's the magic of this character. He can mean so many different things to so many different people, and that's only going to continue as his modern films expand and make even more new fans. Hell, the series is even paving new ways of success for itself in the modern day. As I'm recording this the day after Godzilla -1 got an Oscar, the very first film in the franchise to ever do that. And I have no doubt that if Godzilla continues on the path he's on now, he's just gonna keep getting even better than he's been for decades past. Here's to 70 years, Godzilla, and may you rampage on to bring us many more. And for the love of God, can those upcoming years include more of these? Because Jesus Christ.
Give me what I want!